in an open source project. I'm YesCT. My name is Cathy. I'm YesCT in the Drupal community and also on Twitter. I've been in Drupal for 7 years. Initially, I was involved in Drupal because I used it for my own projects. And then as I used it, I found a bunch of things wrong with it, and I started opening issues. In projects that were really important to me, the issues that I opened weren't being addressed fast enough. So I wanted people to pay attention to my issues. So I started to close out other issues, find duplicates, issues that were open that didn't have enough information. I would ask questions so that they would kind of move off the queue and my issues would float higher to the top. And I just kept doing more and more things that I could do so that other people had more time to work on solving the problems that I couldn't solve. And about 2 years ago, the Drupal community started a mentoring program. And I started participating in it, and participating a little bit more, and then becoming a mentor myself. And now, over the last 2 years, I'm a super active mentor. I mentor other mentors. I organize sprints ranging in size of 6 people to 600 people. And I'm here at SymfonyCon because Drupal is a content management solution framework, and the next version that's coming out, Drupal 8, uses components of Symfony to replace some of their internal stuff that they'd done on their own previously. So the two communities are working together, and we're both open source communities, and so we have some similar problems, and we can learn things from each other. And Drupal and other open source communities have a lot of problems. There are a lot of bugs. There are a lot of improvements to do. There's no shortage of work to do in them, but there is a shortage of people and resources. So we want to figure out how we can get more people to contribute, how we can scale to make a project sustainable, and we need to figure out the key to getting one-time contributors to become repeat contributors. So let's think first about who is a possible new participant in a community, and that's anybody. And the first step to getting them to be one of those like amazing people that does a ton is just to get them to participate once. You have to do that first step between not participating and participating once. And then you can become a repeat participant. You can participate so much that you start helping other new people and you become a mentor. And then when you do that a lot, you'll mentor other new mentors and go through that process. But it all starts with just initially moving from just a person who uses something to somebody who participates in the community that maintains it. So we want to figure out how we can get people to take that first step. And there's a bunch of things we can do. But let's first think about how the community itself can change to make it more likely that people will start participating. One thing the community can do is it can change its perception of who is valuable and who's a possible good candidate. And that is absolutely anyone. When a new person comes into a community, we don't know enough about them to encourage them or dissuade them. So we want to have no assumptions about somebody new, except we want to assume that they have good intentions and that they are a possible valuable member. Another thing the community can do, which will encourage people to participate, is to redefine contribution beyond just code. And we can use language that's inclusive. It's inclusive in terms of gender language, but also inclusive in terms of the way we talk about skills. We can look at the kind of examples that we hold up of good contributions and see if they're representing a wide range of possible people to pitch in. So when we think about skill language and not just talking about coding, we think about other skills that people have. People with usability and accessibility skills can help the community. They can help, for example, improve the tools that are used to contribute. If the tools are hard to use, people who are thinking about contributing but run into some roadblocks or confusions, they will just stop. So we can still use people who think about usability in terms of the tools that we use while we're working on the project. People to just open issues are valuable. People to triage issues and show they're reproducible and document how to reproduce them. People to test things, documenters, project managers, fundraisers, community event organizers, photographers, artists, DevOps people, infrastructure people, performance and security specialists. First-time users make great developer usability testers. People from other projects can provide perspective or identify integration issues. All of these people are sometimes outside what we might start with as a narrow vision of who is a contributor. So we want to, when we talk about contributing, we want to use language that includes these people also. Another thing the community can do, like a change from within, is work with the most active contributors and talk to them about what happens when a new person approaches them. How do they find it challenging to interact with them? Are they sometimes reluctant to invest hours in ramping up new people? How have they handled it in the past? And if there is a way to point new people to documentation or to specific new people kind of events, we can have our most experienced contributors know about those things, and when they're approached by new people, instead of turning those new people away, they can redirect those new people to specific things that are geared to help those new people get involved. Those changes to the community, viewing anybody as a possible participant, redefining the valuable skills, and putting in place something to drive new people towards, can make it more likely that new people will become participants. Those are within the community, and new people won't notice those things. But we want new people to notice opportunities, so we have to do outreach. We want to make announcements. We want to get high-profile people to recommend opportunities to participate, and we want to explain the benefits about participating in a community. We need to make all these things kind of easy to do. And one thing in terms of announcing opportunities to participate in a community is if you're at an event and that event has an opportunity to become a new participant, is to make it super easy to have reminders about that opportunity. And so one thing that's helpful is to prepare wording or a slide that has just the main points and information, and give that to the presenters. And any presenter who feels like their talk is relevant to improving something in the community can very easily tuck this in at the end of their presentation, and it gives a constant reminder to everybody who's at that event that they are invited to come and participate. And other things that we can do without being at events are sneaking in reminders that participants are welcome and how they can get involved. So one example from Drupal is WebChick was doing an AMA on Reddit, and she was asked a ton of different questions. And she had one little part of her response in which she said, Anyone who wants to get involved in CORE has many opportunities for friendly and knowledgeable folk to help them. And that's a message that's really important, and we try and repeat that a lot. So she wasn't even talking about mentoring. She was doing an AMA, and she snuck this in. Not only did she remind people that these opportunities are available, but she linked directly to them. In Drupal, we have weekly IRC meetings, and so anybody all over the world can participate. Another sneaky thing to do, this is by Gabor, and he's a team lead in Drupal 8, and the point here is that he had a super long blog post talking about it all, like this really cool new feature, getting people excited about Drupal 8, and explaining how this is really awesome and already working. And at the bottom, there's one little bit here. You can't even see it because it's talking about all these good things. But there was one tiny little bit that is, hey, if you're interested in this, we do have this open issue. And not only did he just mention one little thing, but he left the door open for people to think they can possibly help. Because it wasn't, we have this one issue and we need to solve it and it's hard. His call to action is for people to come and read the issue and discuss it. And a lot of people can say, well, I may not be able to code up the solution, but if I look at the possible alternatives, I can think about which ones of those would be helpful for me, why they would be helpful, and they can voice their opinion. So he's gotten people excited about the project, seeing how awesome it is, but just one little bit is just sneaking in a reminder that people are welcome to participate, and it's possible for them. They have the skills. People have the skills to discuss things. Big articles like that, they take a lot of investment, so easier things are just to tweet about opportunities to get involved. The nice thing about that is it's really easy to spread the word, and it's totally fine for you to contrive messaging other people and saying, hey, I tweeted about this, could you please retweet? You can do that strategically. You can ping people and say, I just did this. Could you? Could you? Could you? And when your message is about getting people involved in the community, you'll find other people really willing. It's super easy for them. They'll totally help spread the message. We want all of these different ways of getting the message out there, and we want to sneak it in because people need to hear it over and over again. But not only do they need to hear that they are invited to participate, they need repeat opportunities to participate. So we have these weekly IRC meetings. They're twice a week, every week. So if you miss one, there's always another, and you know exactly when it is. So that's really important to getting people opportunities to actually get involved. People who have local events have also found it really helpful to have regular, repeatable opportunities. We've got several places that are doing this, and in the UK, they have monthly meetups where they don't do presentations. They just get together and hack, and it's every month. So we need to have repeat announcements, and we need to have repeat opportunities. That'll help get people to show up once and try and help. But what we really need is to get them to show up again and again. Because if we invest time in them and energy and resources and we help them participate and they don't come back, we don't really get a return on our investment. All we're doing is doing that same thing over and over again. So we really want people to keep contributing. And the way that we do that is when they show up for their first time to participate, we make sure that they feel welcome, that they have a task given to them that is well matched to their skills, and we ensure that they have a successful first experience where they know they had a good effect. Mentors can help do that. So we have official and unofficial mentors. And they take somebody who's showing up for the first time, and they make sure that they feel welcome. So that's sometimes really simple as saying hello to somebody, talking to them a little bit, and then matching a task directly to each individual. So mentors will find out about the participant. They'll ask them if they've ever tried to contribute before, what they've done, what they normally do all day long, what interests they have, and what they kind of expected to do that day. And once they find out about that person, then they'll be able to match a task with them. To ensure they're successful, and that task that they give will be really, really easy. You want it to be so easy they can complete it. So if they're participating in a 2-hour online session, you want that task to be one that they can get done in 2 hours. If they're there for 8 hours at an all-day event, you want to give them something they can complete within those 8 hours. And it's hard to find tasks like that. But you want to have a pool of them and give those to the new people so they can feel really successful. As people are working on that, even if it might be super easy for somebody who's done it a bunch of times, that new person will struggle. So mentors can be around and be supportive and help people by giving them a task, giving them some time to do it, waiting a little bit, and then actually initiating the interaction and saying, how is it going? That's like a mentor's job. Walk up to somebody new and ask them how it's going, because it's so hard for people to go up to somebody else and say, I'm having trouble with this. But it's a lot easier to respond to how is it going with, well, I got stuck here. That's a much easier interaction. When mentors are helping people, they want to help without being overbearing. You want to build a new participant's confidence. You want them to think that they can do it. And so when you're helping them and you suggest something to do, it helps. One thing that I do is I count in my head silently to 10. So if I suggest install this or go do a git pull, if they don't immediately start doing the thing, I count in my head and I wait a little bit, because that gives them time to take what I've said, put it into context with things that they already know, think about how they're going to try and do it, and then attempt something. If I don't give them that time and I just keep feeding them the next step immediately, they're going to feel incompetent. And I don't want them to feel like that. I want them to be empowered. We want to enable people to continue on their own afterwards, because we're going to help them the first time they show up, and we want them to be repeat contributors. They need to know how to keep doing it even without a mentor there. So if somebody asks a question, a mentor won't just give the answer, do this. They'll say, well, here's the resource that tells you what the answer is. Here's how to find that resource. And when a mentor does that, it means that that person is going to be able to continue on their own. Mentors have another thing that they do really well, which is answer questions that they don't know the answer to. And so they get asked things, and they will say, I don't know. Let's find out together. This is how I would find out. Let's start by, and that's a tricky question. Let's go ask, and then they'll say who to go ask. This is a super valuable thing that experienced people can do with new people, because participants come in feeling like they are incapable of helping with a project, that they don't know enough to do anything. And when they see experienced people answer a question with, I don't know, that's really empowering for them. And then that mentor, that experienced person, reveals how to find the answer. And that will totally rock the world of new participants. They'll be like, oh, they're human, and they're like me. So making people feel welcome, matching tasks up with them, answering questions with resources, and saying I don't know and revealing how to find the answers, those are things that mentors do. But it's really important that they do it in public. When I'm trying to help somebody and they're new, it's really often that they will request to chat with me, in a place where only the two of us can talk, because they don't want to reveal what they don't know. And I'm super forceful that we have our conversation in public. The key to making mentoring work is that it happen in public. Because we need to expose everybody to how mentoring works. And we can do that on individual issues in the issue queue, in a public channel like in IRC, or in a room where we talk loud enough that other people can overhear our conversations. And the nice thing is, when people overhear an interaction between an experienced person and a new person, the other people in that room start to pick up the habits of how that mentor is interacting. And it happens a little bit subconsciously, or maybe on purpose, they're interested. But then if they're ever in a situation and somebody asks them a similar question, they're going to kind of think back and they're going to go, you know, I know how somebody handled that. And they're going to start to pick up all these good mentoring habits without even wanting to be a mentor themselves. If the interaction happens in a private place, then those good habits can't spread throughout the whole community. So it's really important that it happen in public for that. It's also important because what people will observe is that mentors aren't magical. They don't know everything. They're not super skilled. They're often very patient. And when they see that, new participants and experienced people already in the community will be like, mentoring isn't that hard. That's what people do when they mentor. And then they'll start to think that they themselves can mentor. But if it happens in secret, it's like, oh, I don't know if I can mentor. I don't know what's involved. And you must be like, so when we do it in public, it really makes it more accessible for everybody. So these mentors, right, that show up to help new participants, they match tasks to people and pick simple ones and answer questions they don't know the answer to and share how to find them. But where do they come from? And the key is doing it in public. Because people will see that it's not scary and that they do have the skills to mentor. That will happen kind of naturally. But something else that can happen is if an experienced person is around and working, and a new person comes, and the experienced person doesn't have enough time to help right then, they can just ask somebody else to help the other new person. So if you know somebody has done something a couple of times, and a new person comes along and asks a question about how to do it, instead of the person who usually helps out helping, they're going to ask somebody who's never really mentored before to help the new person. So sometimes all it takes to turn somebody into a mentor is just to ask them to answer somebody who's new, answer their question. So these new mentors are in the same situation as new participants. We want the new participants to be repeat participants. We want the new mentors to have a good enough experience mentoring that they will want to do it again when they're asked. So the way to ensure that mentors keep coming back is to have more experienced people continue to support them. So be around in case mentors have questions. They know who the mentors themselves can go to. The experienced mentors can participate side by side with new mentors. So new mentors, it's easy to pick up things and learn. Experienced mentors need to do the same 10-second rule with their mentors that the mentors do with the new participants. So if you tell a mentor to go do something, you got to give them a while to think about it. You also have to let them make a mistake. It's okay to let them make a mistake, and then later you can suggest certain ways to improve. We can encourage mentors to keep coming back by empowering them, and that they, in fact, can improve the mentoring experience. So new people will often have ideas of things that can be documented, repetitive things that the mentors had to explain over and over again. This is really good. We should let new mentors do this kind of documentation. It helps improve the overall mentor memory in the whole community, And when we write things down well, we can also share those resources directly with the participants, so participants don't have to keep answering the same questions over and over again. In Drupal, we have these things which are called contributor task documents, and they are things that people who want to participate in our project have to do over and over again. And we know good ways of doing it, so instead of keeping it secret in our head, we write it down, and then we share it with everybody. Another way of empowering mentors and making them feel like they're volunteering of their time, what they've done so far is valuable, is to ask them what they would change. So maybe a mentor shows up and does something, and when it's all done, some organizer can say, all right, now, what would you do to improve the mentoring experience? That's going to make that mentor feel really appreciated. These things we can do asynchronously, or we can do them real time. We can do them in person at events, like sprints. So sprints are usually in-person focused events with real-time interactions lasting all day. Sometimes people will participate remotely in a sprint, so somebody who can't come to the event but knows that hacking is going on, they'll want to participate. So in Drupal, we use IRC for that a lot. We also will sometimes have specific sprints that are mostly remote. So we have January 25th and 26th coming up. That's our Drupal Global Sprint weekend. But sprints in general can be really small. At small sprints, usually the organizer of the sprint functions as the mentor. And one way to evaluate whether or not you might need to ask your friend or recruit more mentors is a good ratio is 1 mentor towards every 8 participants. And when you need more mentors, you can just look at who's shown up to your event and go, you know a little bit more than everybody else. Will you help me? And now they're a mentor, even though they didn't think they were. So I was at a sprint in Prague, and we have a main sprint day, and that's on Friday at the end of the week. And this was the 2 days before we were doing a smaller sprint. And we didn't have any special sessions to help new people get involved. And I was planning on mostly working on this one area in core. But some new people showed up. They were super excited. And so the sprint area was divided up really nicely. So we had some experienced people in one room, and then anybody who showed up and said, I'm new, I want to help, we kind of put them in another room. So all the new people were there together. And throughout the morning, people kept trickling in, and I was answering questions about setting up your development environment and how to find an issue to work on, and all these things that you always have to tell new people. And about halfway through the day, I really wanted to go work on this other thing. But new people kept coming in. So it was like, oh, I'm going to have to explain development environment again? Really? But I didn't have to. Because I had been doing all that out loud in the room all morning, and new people had been there, all I had to do was look around the room and say, you've been here all day. You've just seen what I've been doing. You help this new person who's just walked in. So in a pinch, we can get new mentors just by looking at people who've been hanging around. At bigger events, it helps to have people sign up in advance. So an event website can have a sign up specifically for mentors. We've found it helpful to have a booth in where the vendors have their booths. And at this booth, we put people who've mentored before, and they do a bunch of different things. The booth provides a place where mentors can find each other. So if somebody's like worried about what's going to happen, you know where other people are going to be, and you can discuss worries that come up. People who are at the booth talk to new people who are walking by. Because people who've participated before in the community, and they know that we need mentors, they think they can't do mentoring. They can come and talk to people at the booth. They can say, I thought about mentoring, but I wasn't really sure if I could. And then the mentors that are there can convince them and have them sign up to be mentors. The other thing that mentors who are at the booth can do is they talk to people who have never participated in the community. They will come up and say, work on core? I don't know. I can't do that. And the mentors will do their magical convincing and convince them, yes, they can help, and yes, you should come on Friday. So sign-ups help, and booth helps too. In a pinch, you can just ask somebody. And when you're trying to think about how many mentors you need, a ratio of 1 mentor to 8 participants is a good rule of thumb. For an event where you're going to be sprinting, it really helps to prepare ahead of time and think about what you're going to need at the sprint. Space needs is one thing to think about. If it's kind of a big event, it helps to have a conversation room which fits maybe 6 to 10 people. And outside of that conversation room, just hang a piece of paper and write down some hours, and people can sign up. And they can say, I want this room at 12 o'clock. We're going to discuss whatever. Those discussions can be quite verbal about some hard problems. And then they can get as loud as they want in the discussion room without bothering other people. Having another room for people who, they contribute before, they know what they're doing, they just want to be heads down and get to work. A nice quiet room for that is good. A separate room, a specific room for new people to show up in, that's also really helpful. That room can be quite loud. There might be interruptions in the room, people going up to the microphone, demonstrating how to do common contributor things. There'll be mentors walking around all the time, explaining how to do things, so that room can get kind of loud. Signs are really important. New people are going to show up. They're not going to know what room to go to. They're not going to know what even is going on. Signage is really good. Even better is a person who can see somebody approaching and can talk to them and help them figure out where they should go. Another thing to prepare ahead of time for sprints is a list of tasks that you're going to hand out just to new people. Because you can't just show them the issue queue and say, welcome, go fix something. New people cannot pick new things. They don't know how to evaluate what they would be good at. They don't know how to find things in the queue. And they don't have any idea of how long it takes to do something and what might be small enough they could actually accomplish that day. So experienced people and mentors can prepare a shorter list of tasks that they know is going to be good for new people. That helps a sprint run really smoothly. These tasks don't have to be issues. They can be, well, this issue needs some research, do some comparisons of things that I've already done. This one needs triaged. This one needs a review. This one needs, so there are little tiny tasks that make up solving a whole issue. And so we can hand out these smaller subtasks to new people, and it gives them a sense of accomplishment. They completed their task, even if the issue didn't get marked fixed. We have a tool that helps us track that. It's a separate website that we built. And it's really helpful, but our end goal is really to change our main issue tracker so that we can use that to track these things. We want to turn our whole issue queue into a mentoring issue queue so that we can break up tasks like that, point people to instructions for those tasks that we've already written, and it's all integrated into our main tool. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. Without a special tool, Google Spreadsheet works just fine, as long as you don't have too many people opening it at once. And the kind of data that you want to track are the issue number, what the task is on that issue, the task difficulty level, what skills are needed in order to complete the task, and who is the participant, or maybe two participants if they're working in pairs, who's going to work on that task, and who's the mentor that's working with those people. And then you want to keep track of the status of the task, whether or not it's a work in progress, if it needs review, or if it's done. And when mentors are coming up with this task list ahead of time, they want to make sure that they have some easy, medium, and difficult things. Have tasks for people who have a local environment and their tools already set up, and also have tasks that people can do even if they don't have those things set up. Mentors ahead of time can document what tools people need and find all the references so that people can set up those tools on their own, and then provide help for people who have trouble setting up their tools. The other thing to plan ahead of time for sprints is what you will need at the actual event. You need Wi-Fi, a lot of outlet strips, food, coffee, and tables. So if you have those things, you'll be set pretty well. Food is important because if you're working all day and people have to leave to go get lunch, it can take 2 hours to go somewhere for lunch. First of all, you have to get a group together, and then somebody's not ready, and then you have to wait for them, and then you walk somewhere, and then it's the same thing, and now you've blown half of the day on lunch. Also, if you're in a fantastic place, people who go to lunch don't come back. They're already out in the city, a city in the world they've never been to. They go be a tourist. So if you have food at your sprint, you get to keep them there, and they also eat more efficiently. Tables are important. You want to have big tables, like round or rectangular tables, where people can sit together and work in groups. It's helpful to have signs on those tables of what that particular table is working on. It makes people who are working on like things easier to find each other. So there's a lot of preparation if you're going to have a big sprint, but it's totally worth it because it makes it run a lot smoother. So we know we want people who participate to become return participants. And so we want to encourage them and recognize them so that they'll come back. One-on-one, mentors can do this as the day progresses because they can restate what they see the people working on and how much they've accomplished so far. It can be hard for a new person to see what they've gotten done when they're just thinking the issue isn't done, it's not fixed yet. It's not committed. So mentors can be like, oh, are you kidding? Look at all this stuff you've done today. You learned how to do this, and you set up that, and next time you come to do this, it's going to be so much easier. So mentors can help people realize what they have accomplished. Mentors can share stories about their blunders as they were trying to learn how to do things, and that can bolster the confidence of new people. Having somebody count the number of people at the sprint is really impressive. You don't realize what kind of effect the day has had and your contribution to the day until you realize there were, 50 people at a sprint. That's a big deal. Taking pictures of events is super fun, and publishing them, because some person who's been using the tool for a while sees the name of these cool people who fix the tool, but they think they're not good enough, and then they end up sprinting with those people and working with them. They show up in a picture with those people that they look up to. They get really excited. They're like, look, it's me, and I'm with them. So taking pictures is very motivational. It's also important to have these really easy tasks that people can accomplish. And mentors can keep an eye on things throughout the day. So if they see maybe somebody's trying to solve a problem, and they submit a patch that's going to fix the problem, if it's small enough that it can be reviewed right there on that day, and the work is good enough that it can be committed, then a super fun thing to do is to have a live commit on stage in front of everybody for that person's very first commit to the project. In this picture, this is Juliet, and Alex is showing her where she can press the key to hit enter so that her commit goes into core. So that's really exciting. It's super fun for everybody to watch. So those things help those new participants feel valued. We also want the mentors to feel valued. People are simple, right? So sometimes dinner is all it takes. So mentors, they work the week or the month ahead of time organizing. They work the week ahead of time organizing the tasks, planning things, writing all this documentation. Or you get mentors who just show up all day, and instead of hacking on what they wanted to hack on, they spent the day helping other new people get involved. A nice reward for them is to take them out for dinner afterwards. Public tweets by a high-level active participant thanking specific mentors goes a long way. Also, keeping track of who showed up to mentor, and as people mentor over and over again, how many times they've mentored, and then they can see how they rank, and the more they mentor, the higher they go up in those rankings. That can be motivational for people. This is a picture of a very public recognition of mentors. This was in DrupalCon Prague, and that's Dries, the project lead of Drupal, and he has a slide up recognizing a mentor, like in the keynote of everything, right? Like, that's motivational. That's some good mentor recognition there. Other fun things that help both new participants and mentors. Ice cream, it's very good. It's kind of a tradition at sprints that we have chocolate. That's also pretty good. We want some long-term recognition also, and one of the most important things that we can do to recognize people's contributions in terms of new participants is to review the work that they've done. There's nothing more frustrating than to go through the trouble of getting all set up, finally figure out how to do something, propose a fix, and have nobody comment on it. That person's not going to go through that pain again. So getting reviews on things is so huge. That's really going to make them feel appreciated. It's also going to build their skills, because probably going to get marked needs work, and they'll have to make it better. So long term, we can do this for participants like we can for mentors. We can keep track of how many times they've done something, like how many commits they have. If we value other things, like how many reviews, we can keep track of how many reviews people have done, and then publish those somewhere where people can look it up. So, for example, I remember the day that I made it to 10 commits in core. I remember the day I made it to 50, and I remember the day I made it to 100. And maybe I like playing games and getting high scores, but for me that was motivational. It's motivational for some people to do that. So it's worth keeping track of things. If we want people to do something and we want to show they value it, then we can go through the trouble of at least counting how many times they've done it and making it so they can look up and see the results. Another way, without necessarily having to count, some contributions are hard to count. Things like, like event organizing or doing great art for something. Like these things are a little bit more hard. Sometimes participating in discussions. So what we can do is we can think about all the different kinds of ways of participating and make a list of all the people who've ever done anything, and that can be like the team list. And that can be impressive too, because a new person looking in might think, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But if they look at the list of people who've done it, and they know some of those people, and they're like, I know them, they're really not that smart. If they can participate, I can participate too. Or they look at the list and they say, wait a second, they didn't work on any code, and they're being recognized as being part of the team. Maybe I have something that I can do that'll help, and then I can be part of the team too. So public recognition goes a long way. Long-term things come out of all of this naturally, because the more people are involved, the more people they talk to, the more they build personal relationships. They go through exciting things together, they go through really difficult times together, and they have this history of shared experiences. And it makes doing not fun things fun. So, for example, Drupal.org was on an old version of Drupal, and we're working on upgrading it to a new version of Drupal. And the team had been working on this for a really long time, and the community was giving them no feedback at all about the new issue queue. Like, we say, hey, you're going to have to use this issue queue, and the community is like, yeah, I'm busy. I got a client project. I got this important thing. I don't have time to try this. They didn't get any kind of response. So at DrupalCon, what we decided to do was to invite people to come together to do it, this unfun thing that nobody has any time for. But we were going to do it together, so we knew we were going to laugh and joke and have fun. And we offered to have snacks and treats, ice cream. We had music. We had guitar and ukulele. We had the people who were working on the project right there. So it was this unfun thing, but we knew that when we got together to do it, we were going to get it done, and we were going to have fun doing it. The benefits of changing the community so that it's more welcoming, getting people to show up to participate the first time, making sure that they have a good experience when they show up, valuing their contributions and the mentor's contributions, and making those interactions fun helps the community grow. New participants get benefits out of it by making personal connections, attaining personal goals. Maybe they've been using the project for years and always thought to themselves, wow, I really wish I could contribute. When we set it up like this, they can attain that goal for themselves. They also build their skills. When you do work and the community evaluates it, and there's something wrong with it, they tell you. They tell you how to fix it. They help you get better. And then you go back to whatever your life was, your job or your own personal projects, and you're better for it. So new participants, they get benefits out of it. Mentors, they get the same benefits. They make personal connections. They had a goal to contribute back more to the community. And the crazy thing about mentoring is because you end up answering questions for things you didn't ever know how to do, you end up really building your skills as a mentor. You start learning tons of things that you never thought you would learn. When I was contributing a little bit, and then I got involved with mentoring, what I found was if I needed help with something for a problem I wanted to solve, I could go ask somebody who knew that component really well, and they would answer my question because they knew I was a mentor. And if they taught me something, they knew I was going to teach a bunch of other people something. So mentoring has a lot of benefits directly for the person who's doing the mentoring. It opens doors. So we want to do these things. We want to keep people coming back. And it boils down to being nice and making a lot of opportunities, recognizing them, and making it fun. There's some resources. The slides for this talk are on my site, yesct.net/Warsaw. It's just a GitHub repo. You can clone it, and you have everything, including my crazy notes. And then the other resources up here are some Drupal-specific ones. So if you look at them, you'll have to kind of think, generically, we might find doing this thing helpful. For you people, it's a lot of things covered in the talk. I want you to think about one thing that you can do. For example, you might be able to pay attention to opportunities that are coming up and help do that kind of repetitive announcement and invitation. Or maybe you're involved. You might decide, you know what, instead of answering a question with, that's wrong, you should do it like this, you can answer the question with, that's wrong, you should do it like this. This is the document that shows you how to do it. This is the document that says that it's the right way to do it. So you can start exposing your reasoning in public. That's something that I think people can start doing. Another thing you could do is come to the Hack Day. It's 10 o'clock on the 14th. And if you have any feedback about the talk, here's the node on Joined In, or you can tweet at me at YesCT. So I'll be here like for days, and I love to talk about ways of improving community involvement. Does anybody have any questions, though? It's all right. Yeah? Oh, does this work? Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. In this subject, you focus only on people, but maybe companies want to work on open source project. In your opinion, what is the case to attract these companies on open source projects? What are their motivation?
Yeah, so if a company is using an open source tool and they think that they can make more money as a company or be more efficient if the tool gets better, companies want to be able to improve the tool. So they can take their own people and put them to work and say, I want you to work on this issue. If their people that work in their company aren't experienced with the community, they don't know how the community wheels are greased, the common conventions, they can hire somebody who already knows how the community works and hire them to fix things. Companies have to kind of like view that as overhead, and when they charge money for their work, they have to think, well, I have to charge enough to also be able to pay for that. And that's an adjustment, I think, for companies who might be thinking that they're getting open source for free. And you don't get it for free. You don't have to pay a license, but it takes investment.
I have rather than a question, I just want to ask, could you please share maybe some interesting techniques how to get people involved in trainings or some kind of sessions?
How to get people involved in training?
Involved in the process in the training, so they can feel they are useful, they doing something interesting. They must be, well, the best thing that we can do for people who are training, it's the field then that they are involved and they must be interesting. Do you have maybe some interesting tricky methods to achieve that?
All right, let me see if I understand. So one thing is to get people involved is to make the barrier really low and very obvious what the step is to do next. So when we have an event and we say, new people, come, we talk to them and we figure out what kind of new are you. And if you're brand new, we have usually a tools workshop where we have experienced people who are good at training sit people down, they open up their laptops, they install the stuff, they go through, we have people walk around the room, we help them until they're ready to do something, and then when they're all set up, we move them into another room where they actually then start to work. So the good thing about that is you don't show up in the room where you want to work and you can't do it. So we make it super easy for them. They go to the training first, now they know what to do, and now they can get to work on something. To make them interested in it, I think matching the task to the person helps with that a lot. So you talk to somebody who's really good in a certain area. If you're going to give them a task, don't give them something completely unrelated. Make it something that they're interested in. And you talk to them and you say, what did you want to work on? And then the trick is not to get them to work on something else, but to find the smallest possible thing they can do in the area they are interested in. And explain to them that it's a small thing today, but you tell them why you're giving them such an easy thing. The thing is, the new people who show up to help are not new. They're not learning to code, right? They're not new at their job. In their regular daily life, they're an expert in their field. They're just new at how the community works. So when they show up, we don't want to insult them. We don't want them to think we're insulting them by calling them new or thinking they don't know how to do anything. So it helps to literally say that out loud. You can say to the room, Thank you for coming. I realize everybody here in their daily lives is an expert in their field. We're giving you an easy, simple task today because, and we tell them why. We're giving them such a stupid, simple thing because we want them to figure out how to work in the community so they can continue to do it on their own. And we want them to have a successful experience. And I think when you say that to people, when you acknowledge that you think that they're intelligent and you explain why you're giving them such a simple thing to do, they get it. They're like, you know what? I really would like to feel like I accomplished something today. Let's go with that plan. So I think they'll be on board. Another question?
So you talked a lot about like building communities in person, but the thing that worries me is I had this experience that I heard that Drupal 8 is being built on Symfony components, right?
Yes.
So I thought like, hey, I've got some experience, then I feel like contributing, right? And then I went to GitHub, and it still today says that this is a mirror of repository that is, and it's not being, you're not being able to basically contribute there. You have to go to Drupal.org, and when I went there, you have to register, and you have this issue list, which feels like 1999, and I was like, okay, this is like fences, built on fences, and to me, personally, it felt like a secret society instead of a community. So I guess my question is, who's mentoring the mentors on how open source should be open?
Right. So I have a couple of different thoughts. One thing is, everybody finds it hard to get involved with Drupal, and it's why we forced ourselves to have such a strong mentoring program, because it's impossible. And we realize this. We want to make it easier. And right now, our temporary Band-Aid on it is you get involved by pairing yourself up with somebody else who knows how things work. So I would say don't struggle through it on your own. Come to the IRC mentoring office hours. They're twice a week in different time zones, one handy for Europeans and one for North Americans. And we will make it so easy that we will find something for you to do. That's what mentors do. They make it easy and we find you something to do. Now, the tools problem is a really active, passionate discussion in Drupal. We have our own custom everything for how we package up our stuff, our issue queues, how we review things, and we are clearly coming to the conclusion that we can't do everything ourselves, and it would be good to use common solutions that other people are using for small parts of what we've historically done ourselves. And we're fixing that with the Drupal code ourselves. Right? And now we need to fix it with our tools. So we have a group of people who are evaluating the tools that we have, and we're looking to see, does it make sense to move? Should we use GitHub instead of our own things? Should we use, what is it, PH Fabricator, the code review tool that Facebook made open source, I think? You know, instead of our review tool that we normally use. So we're thinking about how we're going to do this, but we move slow. And one of the reasons we move slow is like for example, the issue queue that we have sucks for some things, but it's really great at other things. And we don't want to lose the things that it's great at when we move to a more common solution. So we're trying to figure out, can we improve GitHub or any other kind of issue queue tool like that so that it gives us what we need? Let's work on that. And if they can meet some kind of minimum criteria that we have, like we can't live without being able to do this in our workflow, if we can improve that tool or make a different version of it so that we can use it without losing anything, then why not move? Because it opens us up to a brand new source of contributors. So we want that, and we want you, but we haven't quite figured out how to make it easy aside from just actually helping you do it. So we're thinking about it. Yeah. I think we're done. So thank you.